news on Wall Street, where the Dow dropped nearly 650 points. The numbers fell after President Trump said there's nothing Canada or Mexico can do to stop tariffs from taking effect tomorrow. Jason Wheeler hosts our Right on the Money segment, and he's here to break down what this means for our wallets.
Yeah, it can have a pretty nasty impact on your wallet. Today is not one of those days, Chris, that you want to go look up the performance of your 401k
purposely
or your
avoided
IRA.
it.
Yeah, maybe give that a couple of days, although we'll see what happens in the next couple of days. You probably weren't too happy, though, if you checked that 401k this afternoon. Maybe some of that won't even be apparent until we get into the later hours of tonight as all those calculations are done. Let's take a look, though, at how the market closed this afternoon. Uncover your eyes here. The Dow dropped actually about 900 points before ending the day down about 650. So it was worse during the day of trading rather than how it ended up at the end. The Dow closing at 43,191. The S&P 500 also falling off by about 105 points, and the NASDAQ down about almost 500 points. This all comes after President Trump this afternoon said that the clock had run out on hopes of striking a deal with America's two largest trading partners, Canada and Mexico, to avoid new tariffs.
Any room left for Canada and Mexico to make a deal before midnight, and should we expect those Chinese tariffs, the extra 10%, to take effect?
No room left for Mexico or for Canada. No, the tariffs, they're all set. They go into effect tomorrow.
So starting at midnight, there will be a 25% tariff placed on imports from Mexico and Canada, along with an additional 10% tariff on Chinese goods. Even though the tariffs affect trade, this deadline comes about a month after the president granted a reprieve after saying he had reached agreements with Mexico and Canada regarding border security and drug trafficking, so unrelated to trade there. So the question is, what does this mean for you? It could impact prices on all kinds of products, ranging from tomatoes, avocados, tequila, automobiles. That's a biggie. This is because importers typically pass along a share of those higher taxes to consumers. Probably a large share of those higher taxes. Otherwise, those businesses here would essentially have to eat that 25% tax. Now, tariff proponents say that because they raise the prices of imported goods, we could see a boost in demand for goods produced in the U.S. So there are people who say that this could be good for the U.S. But if those countries impose retaliatory tariffs on American products as threatened, that could lead to more sluggish sales for American companies. So, Chris, we're going to have to see how this plays out in the days ahead. In particular, look for that opening bell at the stock market tomorrow to see if the worst of it was over today or if we continue on this slide. And this could have a big effect here in Texas. We spoke on our Politics podcast about 15 episodes ago. We put a lot of these things out. Yeah. And he was talking about these tariffs. He says if these stay in place for an extended period of time, Texas in particular could lose $47 billion in its gross product. Wow. And potentially 370,000 jobs in this state could be lost because of this, because we trade so much back and forth with Mexico.
Yeah, a lot of international trade going back and forth. Obviously, President Trump saying, a little bit of short-term pain will lead to longer-term gain in the form of a rebalanced trade deficit with the U.S.
We'll see how short-term that is.
And
important to point out here, that economist I was just telling you about, Ray Perryman, has worked on NAFTA and the replacement agreement, the USMCA, U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, which was signed under President Trump in his first term.
Wow, comes full circle now. All right, thank you, Jason.